If you are a sports fan, this is the best time of the year. Um, if you are a football fan, if you follow the Champions League and you follow, league football, the Premier League, the Bundesliga, La Liga, this is the best time of the year because it's knockout football. And like, okay, if you're talking about other sports as well, it's the playoffs. It's going to be the playoffs soon in the NBA. But just talking about football, this is the best time of the year. And we saw this week, and we saw just this week why this is the best time in football. This is the best time of the year for any football fan. When we get into knockout stages, it's big teams versus big teams. It's exciting moments on another exciting moment and another one. And it's the thrill, it's the drama, it's the beauty, the goals, the talking points, and we had a lot of that this week. Now, the Champions League was very, very interesting this week, right? I enjoyed watching a lot of the games and following a lot of the games. Unfortunately, for some teams, it didn't turn out as they would have wanted, but it was still very, very exciting, very, very intriguing. And there were a lot of talking points that I just want to focus on this week. And I wanted to review the Champions League and the games that happened this week, right? So before we get into that, remember to subscribe to the channel. Please make sure to follow us also on Instagram at We Talk Football 24 and on Facebook at We Talk Football. So let's get into our weekly review of the Champions League. So the Champions League was awesome this week, and we saw a whole lot of games that were interesting. But I think probably, of course, the two big games that happened this week were PSG versus Liverpool and Atletico Madrid versus Real Madrid, right? So those are the two big games. I don't know really where to start, but let me start with PSG versus Liverpool. That game was huge for a number of reasons because last week's game, the first leg at France at Parc de France, at PSG's home stadium, was a great game. PSG outplayed Liverpool from the first minute to the last minute of the game, except when they had to stop, Darwin Núñez and Harvey Elliott. Now, Harvey Elliott gets through, scores the goal, and puts Liverpool ahead 1-0 up in the tie. Now, Now, there's historical precedent to Liverpool taking the first leg, right? Winning the first leg and going back to Anfield in the second leg. Liverpool had not lost before PSG. They had not lost a second leg game at Anfield where they have won the first leg in 39 matches. Now they were 39-0, and Luis Enrique said, well, they will have to be 39-1. Essentially, that's what he said. Not in my, what the words I'm using. But he basically said, we will have to go there and break the record to win. And, break the record they did. Two outstanding performances against Liverpool, I think. Liverpool were also great in the second leg. I don't think people talk enough about how good Liverpool were. I think they dominated the game much more than they did in the first leg. But PSG also came with a lot of energy and like a very similar game plan to what they had last week. Press Liverpool really high with Joao Neves and Vitinha. Man, those two, big ups. Like I heard people talk about them early on in the season and last season, and people saying these two guys are really good in midfield, and PSG have bought two really, really great players. But I saw them in action. They are relentless, diminutive, they're small. They're not tall, they're not big, but they are diminutive. They don't stop running. They go at you. They hunted Liverpool down. I think they basically nullified Liverpool's midfield. I didn't really see McAllister have two good games, right? And he's another player that people don't talk about. Like, people are talking about Mohamed Salah and the off game that he had, but also there are other players for Liverpool that have been great that didn't step up. McAllister is one of them. Gravenberch didn't step up. Szoboszlai didn't step up. But, you know, their performances, their subpar performances, a huge part of that is because João Neves and Vitinha were so awesome in midfield, along with Fabian Ruiz as well, right? So PSG PSG played well, even though Liverpool played a really good game as well at Anfield. And, you know, they scored the goal. Dembele, another mix-up. You see, like, if you look at that goal that PSG scored, it's very similar to the goal that Southampton scored against Liverpool last week. I think there was a breakdown in communication between Alisson and Van Dijk. I'm talking about Southampton. And, you know, Van Dijk I think he was trying to cut the ball in the box. Alisson didn't really shout, "I'm coming for it," goalkeeper's ball. You know, the ball gets bundled and, you know, it just gets silly. Southampton player scores. Same thing here. Konate tries to cut the cross in the box, but Alisson didn't communicate and say, "Hey, I'm coming for the ball," you know, and, you know, I think it hits Konate, and both of them are on the floor, scrambling, trying to figure out where the ball is, Konate and Alisson. And Dembele is quick enough to just jump over the defender and score an open net goal. Now, after that, Liverpool came into the game. They dominated. They tried to, you know, create chances and score goals. But, you know, as I said, there were players for Liverpool that didn't come to the party. Another player that didn't really come to the party that was really bad. Two players, actually. Diogo Jota and Luis Diaz. Now, I single them out especially because Salah was off. Salah was in Mendes's pocket. Mendes, man, another one of, you know, another outstanding performance from a PSG player. João Neves, Vitinha, and Mendes. You know, how many? Tell me, how many players, how many fullbacks go one-on-one with Mohamed Salah and they just nullify Mohamed Salah? In 2 games, he did that twice. He did it in the first leg, and of course, like, you have to do it again to kind of prove maybe it's not a fluke, and he did it again. You know, and he was the highest rated player, I think, on the pitch. I'm not so sure, but it was the highest rated player, Mendes. Now, I say that because we've seen Salah, and he said it himself. He said he got advice from Arsene Wenger, and Arsene Wenger told him, if you're having a bad game, you can still influence the game in different ways, right? Assisting a goal, creating chances, or scoring a goal. Like that. Like, if you're having a bad game, that kind of changes everything, and it elevates your game. And it makes it look like you had a good game, even though you had a really bad game. Now, Salah had poor performances, and also he didn't have any goals. He didn't have no assists. If that happens to your best player, to your star player, to your goal scorer, then you need your 2 other guys to step up. You needed Luis Diaz and Diogo Jota to step up and do something for Liverpool. But I don't know what happened to the both of them. They really had poor games. Their touches were not there. They weren't creating goals. They weren't threatening PSG, really. I mean, PSG don't have a great defense, right? But they were so comfortable playing against Jota and Diaz, you know? And I know Nunes gets a lot of criticism from Liverpool fans, from football fans, but he was more of a threat. He made Marquinhos more uncomfortable than Diogo Jota did. And so that was an excellent game, man. Like, I enjoyed watching that game. It had a lot of excitement because of the high energy, right? The high energy of PSG, and how Liverpool have been playing. They have been playing well. So it was an excellent game. Also, never saw PSG coming like this. Never thought they would be as good as they are now after watching them against Arsenal in the league or group stages or league stage, right? Because Arsenal beat them 2-0, and it was one of the easiest games, one of the most comfortable games Arsenal has played all year long. And like, Arsenal have had a really disappointing year, but that was such an easy game. I knew going into that game Arsenal would win, and they did 2-0 easy. So from there, for them to come back and have the season that they're having right now, to be in the quarterfinals, to knock out Liverpool at Anfield, awesomeness, man. And the penalty shootouts, like a lot of people say, like they saw Darwin Núñez go there and they just knew that didn't look good. They kind of had a feeling that Darwin Núñez would miss his penalty, and miss he did. And thing is, with Darwin Núñez, his confidence right now is really low because he knows like Liverpool fans don't like him. They want him out of the club because of the chances that he misses. He's not a bad player, but he just doesn't score goals the way he was thought to be. Like, Liverpool bought him for like 85 million, right? And for a striker that costs that much to get the productivity that you get from him, is it's quite disappointing. So people knew, like fans knew, when he stepped up to take the penalty, that he was probably going to miss. And miss he did. Unfortunately for him, it was shocking. Donnarumma is actually a good penalty keeper. I don't think he's particularly great. I don't think he's like a world-class keeper. He's very uneasy. He's very jittery, and I don't think he makes his defenders feel at ease. He's not like Petr Cech is one of the coolest goalkeepers I've ever seen. He's far from that. And he saved the penalty. PSG did not miss. PSG did not miss. Liverpool, again, Curtis Jones stepped up and missed. And in that moment, right, like you kind of look back and you think, but look, PSG have such a young squad. Like, their midfield is young. Bacola is young. Doué is young. They have a lot of young players coming in. Vitinha, Neves. And you think, now this is where Liverpool are going to capitalize because they have the experience, right? They will win on penalties. I thought that's what I thought. But it was quite the opposite. And maybe you look at the penalty selections, maybe like you would have wanted other people to take penalties before Curtis Jones and Darwin Núñez, especially Darwin Núñez. Maybe you would have wanted Virgil van Dijk to take a penalty. Experienced, leaders. Also, Van Dijk is a really good technical player. So, yeah. Maybe also Van Dijk. People forget Van Dijk missed a penalty for the Netherlands at the World Cup against Argentina in the penalty shootouts, and maybe that's why he didn't want to step up. Maybe he was still thinking about that. So, anyway, I'm not complaining. I wanted Liverpool out. Shame, yeah. I'm shameless. I'm shameless like that. I didn't want Liverpool to go through, but a very nice game, a great game. This is what Champions League knockout is for. This is what it does. The excitement, man, like it just grips you, right? And then we also had the other game, Atletico Madrid, with probably maybe the biggest talking point of this week's round. With I call it the phantom double kick penalty from Julian Alvarez. What a penalty, by the way. Like, that was an awesome penalty. Wow, like if that counted, my goodness. he just rocketed it. Top corner with so much power. Like that penalty, for me, it just like encapsulates what Atletico Madrid are. Fire, power, relentless energy, fight. That was Julian Alvarez's penalty, but great technical penalty anyway. Like so in the game, like I was watching the game. I woke up early, watched the game before I went to work, and like Atletico Madrid played way better. They played way better than what they played last week against Real Madrid. Like when I watched them play, I watched the first leg and they were defensive, which is their strategy, which is fine, right? But also, like going forward, they looked so hopeless. Like Arsenal have looked hopeless this season without Saka and Odegaard, right? There were moments in the season when we didn't have Odegaard and we looked so hopeless, so out of place. It looks like this was a team that just has defenders. But Atletico Madrid took it to the next level, man. Like I didn't see anything from them. Like I couldn't see wingers. I didn't see wing play. No great forward play except Julian Alvarez is a star, man. And that's the only thing I saw. Griezmann was not that great. I mean, he's a slow player. He's not fast. He's not physically imposing, but he's great technically. He'll thread balls, and if given the chance, he will score goals. And so I felt like Atletico Madrid playing like that, they're out. They're out, bro. They have no chance just simply because they don't give you enough offensively to threaten Real Madrid and to win, right? So my feeling was coming back they were going to lose. And I watched their game on the weekend. I can't who did they play on the weekend? Atletico Madrid, and they lost 2-1. I think it was not Rayo Vallecano. I forgot the team, but they lost. They got a red card. I think it was Korea, and they lost the game 2-1. And watching that game too, I felt like Atletico Madrid did not have a chance. But they came into this game with more fire. Simeone's son, I can't remember his name, Simeone Jr. He was amazing. He was great. Lots of energy. He's just like his dad, fiery, energetic. He pushed Real Madrid, and basically like he was running around all over the right hand side. He was bombing forward, coming back, bombing forward, coming back, shouting, screaming, getting the crowd fired up. And that was his job. And he did it as well as anyone has ever done that kind of job, right? The fullbacks were more offensive this time. They got the early goal. They got more in the box. Conor Gallagher, the former Chelsea guy, scored he bundled. Well, not bundled. Let me not say bundled, but he scored a goal, and there was confusion in the Real box. Scored a goal, and they held on for the whole game and extra time. That is incredible. Like the way Atletico Madrid were defending, I thought that the game was going to end. Like at some point, I was thinking, "Wow, Atletico Madrid are going to do this. They're going to go through." And just because of how they were playing, it completely slipped my mind that there was still going to be extra time. Sorry, that this is a draw. It's not a win for Atletico Madrid. It's still a draw, and they held on. Extra time and then penalties. Now, the penalties were okay, and I mean, then Julian Alvarez stepped up, right? Took the penalty. My thing is with the penalty, I have a very simple take on this. I actually have the rule here, and it says the taker commits an offense if their touch makes the ball clearly move and they played again before it touched another player. Well, basically, it just means if you double kick the ball, that's a foul, and that penalty is it's voided. You missed, right? And we clearly saw Julian Alvarez score the goal. He scored the penalty and he didn't miss. But the ruling is you miss the penalty if you double kick. I think the assistant referees, the VAR assistant referees said also like balls, modern balls have this technology where I think you can there's sensors when you kick the ball or when you touch the ball. So the balls have sensors where if you touch it or kick it or whatever, right? It senses and it indicates to the referees. So the referees said the technology indicated that there was a double kick. There's lots of videos and angles. Some angles make it seem like there wasn't a double kick. Some angles make it look like you clearly see a double kick. I think it was a double kick. He kicked it twice, but that's not the problem. For me, the problem is the rule itself. Why take away the goal if it's a double kick? Why not just make the kicker go again? Retake it. I think it's that simple. It's that I don't think there's a penalty kicker that goes there planning on double kicking the ball. No way. Hell no. I think what Julian Alvarez stepping up to take that penalty, he didn't intend to slip, and he definitely did not intend to double kick the ball. He did not intend to kick the ball to his left foot, or he did not intend to slip, touch the ball with his left foot and kick it with his right. I think he just went there to kick the ball with as much power and accuracy and score the goal, top bins. And he did that, but it was a double kick. And it was a very, very slight double kick. It was the slightest of touches with his left foot. But it was enough to just rule out the penalty. And for me, that's not a miss. A miss is when you don't score. Like if the ball does not go in the back of the net or does not cross the line, that's a miss. Julian Alvarez didn't miss. And even if he did miss, and it's a double kick, I feel like the penalty taker should be allowed to take the penalty again. Because as I'm saying, you see him score, but also the fact that he double kicked just tells you it was a mistake, right? And I know we live in a very forgiving world, and that's not what I'm saying. We forgive, you get a second chance to score a goal, to score the penalty. What I'm saying is you just have to get the chance to score, to shoot the penalty again, right? But I have heard that FIFA and UEFA are reviewing the rule, and I think more than likely it will be changed. I think the rule will be changed very, very soon. It's a stupid rule to just say it's a miss. And in this case, I don't blame the referees. I don't blame VAR. They did their job and they did it really well. Some people are blaming the refs. I think Simeone was incensed. He was mad. He was angry at the referees as well. And rightfully so. But I don't think in this case we can blame the referees. We have done so for so many things. They followed the rules. And if they allowed the goal to stand, you would have had another set of fans complaining. Real Madrid fans would be complaining, saying, but the rule is this. The problem is the rule itself. It has to be changed. And I think it will be very soon. So those were the 2 big points, 2 big games in the Champions League this week. But you also had other games. You had Bayern Munich outclassing. In my predictions, I predicted Bayer Leverkusen to go through because I felt like they had enough to beat Bayern Munich. Tactically, Alonso is a better manager than Vincent Kompany. Proved that last season, and it's been a long time since it had been a long time since Bayern beat Bayer Leverkusen, but they beat them handily, quite easy as well, in both legs, 3-0, 2-0, and they go through. Now they will face Inter Milan, who is one of the most. I think Inter Milan are the most underrated teams. It's the most underrated team in all of football. They are great defensively. Midfield is strong, and they score goals, and they went through as well. So it's going to be a very interesting tie, going back to 2010 Champions League final, Inter Milan versus Bayern. I know all of the players are not there anymore. Like those players that played in the Champions League final are not there. But it's an iconic final for me. Like I loved that final, and it was a great game. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna pick Inter. I'm gonna go against Bayern again. I think this time they'll be knocked out. I think tactically, and no, I think this time tactically, Inzaghi's definitely better than Vincent Kompany's a better coach, but also they do have a squad and the players to match Bayern Munich. So I think they'll be knocked out in the quarters, and Inter go on to the semis. Barcelona did their thing as well. Lamine Yamal, top 3 player. You don't Lamine Yamal right now. You don't go lower than 3 and name better players than him right now, I think, in world football. I think he's a top 3 player. He's only 17 years old. I think he's in. I'm not going to say he's going to win the Ballon d'Or, but he's in Ballon d'Or discussions. And that's something else I didn't mention. I didn't mention that earlier. I think Mohamed Salah's Ballon d'Or charge has taken a huge hit. Definitely has. I wrote this on Facebook, and I said in 2003-04, Thierry Henry was the best player on the best team in Europe. He had 54 GAs, goals and assists, in 51 games in all competitions. Arsenal went unbeaten, a feat that's never been done in the Premier League. And I don't know if it's ever going to be done. It might be. Arsenal went unbeaten in the league, and he was, as I said, the best player on the best team in Europe, but he got knocked out in the Champions League quarterfinals to Chelsea, and he didn't win the Ballon d'Or. And that was that. And that was that. And it feels eerily similar to what Salah is doing right now. He's the best player on probably the best team in Europe this season. Just got knocked out in the last 16 round, even a stage less than what Henry did back in 2004. And I don't know. I don't think Mohamed Salah is going to win the Ballon d'Or. I don't think so. Because if the other contenders weren't having good seasons, right? Like if Rafinha was having a mid-season, or Lamine Yamal mid, Kane mid, if they were not having good seasons, I would say still Salah has a great chance. But they're also having really good seasons, and their teams are doing well, and they've moved forward and further in the Champions League than Mohamed Salah has. So, but anyway, I digress. I was talking about Lamine Yamal, and I was saying I think he's also a Ballon d'Or contender with the way he's playing. That's one of the most casual goals I've ever seen. Seriously. He shot that like he was crossing it. And he meant it. Smooth whistle into the corner. And it was a goal. A beautiful goal. A beautiful goal from a 17-year-old playing like he's prime 25 years old, bro. He's that good. He's that good. I've never seen a teenager that good. And I'm talking about all like teenage prodigies that the world knew this guy is coming. Like Ronaldo, R9, people knew he was coming, right? People knew Messi was coming. People were talking about Messi in La Masia, that he's the best player they've ever seen. Ronaldinho said it to Kobe. That's the best player that the world will ever see. Messi, Neymar, players like that. I think Lamine Yamal is number one. He at this stage, and I'm not saying Lamine Yamal is better than those players, but I'm just saying as a teenager, when those guys were teenagers, they were not as good as Lamine Yamal is right now. He's controlling games. He's doing the business for Barcelona offensively. He is the threat. He is the guy. He is numero uno, bro. So, yeah, Lamine Yamal is the boy. But also you have Rafinha doing the things. Boy, he is fire. And I think he's also in the Ballon d'Or talks. He's got 11 goals, more than Neymar in the 2014-2015 season. That's incredible. More than Neymar scored in the famous MSN 2014-2015 season. In the Champions League, Rafinha has more goals than Neymar. So I think it's going to be a huge season. Harry Kane is also doing his thing for the Ballon d'Or. So now Barcelona are going to face Borussia Dortmund. That's going to be another interesting matchup. I think Barcelona are going to win. Early forecasting, I think maybe Barcelona are going to make it to the Champions League final. I think they might. But let's see. I think there are more balanced teams in the Champions League. But just Barcelona's attack is such an X factor. I think it can break down any defense. But let's see. Arsenal are facing Real Madrid. Huge clash. Did you know Arsenal are the only European team with with more wins than losses against Real Madrid? No other team can say that. So we've won more games in our head-to-head with Real Madrid than Real Madrid have beaten Arsenal. I think it's a few games anyway, so it's nothing to go by. And this is a different Real Madrid team. It's the best. It's maybe the best team in the world with the best players in the world. And so my honest opinion, I think Arsenal are going to be out. I think they'll be knocked out. But Arsenal, I think, like what I've been saying and what I've seen, Arsenal have the best defense in the world. And so I think for the Real Madrid attack, it's not going to be that easy to just penetrate. And we've seen battles between Saliba and Mbappe, so they know each other very well. They play with each other for France. Let's see how that battle goes. Going to be very interesting. Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo play together with Gabriel Magalhaes from Brazil. Let's see how that battle goes. It's going to be interesting to see Rice versus Valverde. That's going to be, two engines, two gazelles running endlessly against each other. Let's see how that goes. Hopefully we'll have Saka back. I don't know if he will be back. Now the question is, do you rush him back and he plays against Real Madrid, or you just rest his hamstring and just call it a season, and then, have him ready, fully fit for the next season? Because I don't think we're going to beat Real Madrid. So if we're not, then why play Bukayo Saka in a spot like that where we know, we might be risking further injury or making it worse? Aston Villa versus PSG is going to be interesting as well in the next stage. Unai Emery is a European coach. But the interesting thing about Unai Emery, he's done it in the Europa. He's won 3 Europas, right? But he's not done it quite as well in the Champions League as he has in the Europa League. He was in charge of PSG when Barcelona famously came back and beat them 6-1. You know, you have Barcelona in that kind of spot. You won 4-0 at your place, and going to the Camp Nou, you would think, you know, you're gonna knock Barca out. Even Barca with Neymar, Messi, and Suarez still there. Iniesta, all them boys doing the things, boy. Even with that, you still had to be confident that PSG were gonna do it, and they didn't. And so he's not done to the extent in the Champions League that he's done in the Europa League. So let's see how that goes. Very interesting clash. But yeah, lots of talking points. Man, the Champions League was amazing this week. I know Arsenal are facing Real Madrid, but I kind of am looking forward to that. I think it's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be a very fun game. If I was a neutral, I'd be looking forward to it a lot. And I fortunately, unfortunately, I am an Arsenal fan, and I have a dog in the fight, so I want my team to win. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's see how it goes. Anyway, have yourselves a nice weekend. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share your comments, tell us what you think, share the video, and I'll see you next week. Awareness.